Hi, this is Kelly with DNN Dev, and today I'm going to show you just how quick and easy it is to create a solution in XMod Pro. For today's example, we're going to show you how to create a frequently asked questions module, or an FAQ, something that virtually every site needs at one time or another. So let's get started. First, I've added an XMod Pro instance to the page. From the Actions menu, I'm going to select Control Panel. This is where most of the action occurs, where you can manage and edit your forms and views. You'll notice also that we have a database tools page. This is great if you want to create prototype solutions or one-off tables. It allows you to actually create a table in your database. So click New Column. Our column first is going to be ID. This is going to be something that uniquely identifies each record, and you'll see why later on. Click the Identity field. For those of you who aren't into databases, identity simply means that it is going to automatically create a number for each record as we create it in the database. So the first record will probably have an ID of 1, the second one will have an ID of 2, etc. Click the Save button to add that. Click New Column again. Every frequently asked question needs a question, so we'll add that column. Let's make this a variable length text, and for our international friends, let's select Unicode. And we'll give this a length of 80. Click Save. New column. Answer column is the next one up. This could be a long one, so we'll just say it's a max length and also Unicode. This could just be the regular max length if you're not internationally minded, if you're just in the US or something like that. Click Save. Finally, just give the table a name, something we can recognize like FAQ, and create the table. Next, we can go to the Manage Forms page. Now that we have our table, we can use the form builder here, which is checked, to quickly create a form for that table. So click the New Form button, give the form a name like FAQ. Next, we're going to select, you can see that we can use external databases if we wanted to, but in this case, we just created the table in the .NET Nuke database. So we'll select that and scroll down and click on FAQ, the FAQ table that we just created. Next, we will select question and answer as the field that we want to be in our form. We could select ID as well, but it doesn't matter too much because it's a key field, and XMod Pro will take care of that behind the scenes. Next, click the Auto Create button, and you can see that the form builder has automatically created a question label and text box, and a larger text box for the answer, which of course is a max length field, so it needs to accommodate a larger text. You'll notice below that we have these bullet points here that say error message 1, 2, and 3. This is really a placeholder for the validation summary. This is where any error messages are going to be displayed to the user, such as, let's just say that they forgot to answer or put in a question. Well, if we require that, which we're going to do now, that message would be displayed in the validation summary. So let's make question required because every frequently asked question actually needs a question. We'll add a couple of stars here just to identify that, hey, this is the field that has the problem, and display a message like question is required. This is what will be displayed in that validation summary. Click Save to add it and apply to make your changes. We'll do the same thing for answer because we really do have to have an answer as well. We'll make this required, a couple of stars, and answer is required. Click Save and apply to make those changes. Now, what if you don't like the width or the height, etc. of your controls? You can make those changes too. We could actually make the width of the question a lot smaller. So now we've got a small text box, but actually 250 is pretty good, so I'm going to leave that there. But I don't like the text area. It's a little too tall, not quite wide enough for me, so I'm going to change that. The height is going to be 100 pixels high and 500 pixels wide. You can see that change reflected. The only other thing I really want to do here is I think because this is such a short form, I don't want the labels to be displayed here on the left of each control. In a lot of cases that's good, but in this case I think I want the question or the labels to be on top of the controls. So I'm going to select the Styling tab, and in the label alignment area from the drop down list I'm going to select top. You can see I could also select right align and left align, of course, but I'm going to select top and create the form. It's done. You can see it right here. Now XMod Pro has automatically created an add form and an edit form for us. The only thing that we have to do is create a way to display that data, those questions and answers. So we're going to click on the Manage Templates page, click on New Template, and we're going to follow some of the same procedures as before. First of all, let's choose a bullet list. That's what it's going to be displayed as. Choose the DNN database and our FAQ table. And here we are going to actually select all of our columns. Normally you wouldn't want to do that, but there's a reason that I want to select all of the columns right now. We're also going to include the detail view. We don't have to, but we could. I'm going to show it to you just so you understand that XMod Pro will create not only a list view of your data, but also the detail view. And it wires everything up for you with these buttons, which you can change. So everything here is what is needed. There's not a lot of code really here. Most of it is HTML or HTML-like. It should be fairly easy to understand. Don't let it intimidate you at all. Here we have the data command, so the database savvy among you will recognize that pretty easily for getting our list of data, getting the actual single record when we want to display details. And this is what happens when you actually click on delete. Here is our header template. This gets displayed or rendered out to the page once. So for an unordered list or a bullet list, we start with an opening UL tag. Down in the footer template, this gets rendered out after all of our records. That's the closing unordered list tag. In between, we have the item template, and this is something that gets repeated for every record that we have displayed on the page. Right now, we really don't need the ID because no one really needs to see that number. And we don't really have to have the question either. I'm sorry, we don't have to have the answer. Instead, that's going to be displayed on the detail template. So really, we just want to display the question, and that's what we've done. In the detail template down here, this is where the full answer will be displayed. Again, we don't have to have the ID, so we can get rid of that. And the question we could probably leave up there. It doesn't really matter. We'll just keep it like that. Okay, now the only other change really I want to make is maybe this add link, which allows you to click on it to create a new record. Let's make it more descriptive. Create new question. And the CSS class, we'll use something that's built into DNN. DNN primary action. What this does is it'll create essentially a blue button in the default skin. And I think that's it. We'll just click on save, and that's right. We have to actually give our template a name. Let's call it FAQ_bullet. And now we can click save, and it's been saved or changed and put here in our grid for us. The last thing to do is simply to configure our module to use the form in the template that we just created. We can click this link here, or again, we can use the actions menu to select configure. All we have to do is select the portal template that we created, and that is FAQ_bullet, and the form is the FAQ form. That's all there is to it. We'll save our changes, and voila! Right now you have a fully functioning application that allows you to add records, delete records, edit records, and view records in both a list form and a detail form, all in really a matter of minutes. Of course, we don't have any data, so let's go ahead and add some of that so we can actually see what's going on. I'm going to click that button, and just to show you that we can actually add some stuff, let's say, what is the meaning of life? That, of course, is 42. We'll add a second one, which I think you saw here. What is the oldest business in the United States? Do you know what that is? Guesses, anyone? Well, it's actually a cymbal maker called Zildjian. If you're into music, you know that already. But did you know that they were founded in 1623? That I did not know. All right, finally, we'll have a third question, and this is what is the most common invention of the 1800s. What was everybody pining for in the 19th century? Turns out it was washing machines. Over 1,600 patents for washing machines in the 19th century. Who would have thunk it? Okay, here we go. You can see now that we have a fully functioning application. We have a bullet list. Each item displays our question, followed by an edit link, a delete link, and a details link. If we click on details, we can see the question and the answer. We also have a return button so we can go back to our list view. And if we want to edit something, like the oldest company, maybe it was 1624 that they were founded in, we can make that change and update it. And if we click on details again, we'll see that that change has been made. Okay, the other thing I want to show you is that I'm going to log out for a second and show you now I'm not a logged in user. You can see all we can do is view details for each of these things. Automatically, XMod Pro only allows admins and host users to edit and delete records and add records. So that's built in by default, but you can change who can add and who can edit records quite easily in XMod Pro. And I'll show you that right now. This is the inline editor, which makes it very easy to make changes to your templates, so you can make quick changes. But that is specified up here. If they're blank, then it's going to be the default roles, but you can specify what roles you want to be able to add, edit, and delete, etc., and even who can view the details. Okay, that's it. But it's kind of ugly, I'll say. But that's kind of the point, really, with XMod Pro, is that we know that we're not in control of what your skin looks like. No module developer ever can. I think it's fairly arrogant to create a layout that we force you into some sort of layout or some sort of styling that you have to use. So the design philosophy behind XMod Pro has always been to get out of your way whenever possible and let you craft the solution that you need, so that you can make your clients happy, you can make sure that it looks good with the skin, that it matches the look and feel that the client wants or that you want for your own site. So that's really the driving philosophy behind XMod Pro. We give you as many tools as we can to make this easy, but then we leave kind of the styling and even your own JavaScript and SQL database stuff. That's up to you. I mean, we'll give you a helping hand, we'll start it out, and then you can make your tweaks and your changes as you need. I think it's really powerful that way. And to give you an example of that, I'm going to show you how you can turn this into an accordion using the Bootstrap Collapse Panel plugin, I think it's called. Bootstrap, of course, is very popular these days for building responsive websites, and the latest versions of .NET Nuke have some Bootstrap into the default theme, and a lot of skins are being built with Bootstrap. So I thought it was a good example. We'll go ahead and use that. So let's just go ahead and edit our template. And really, we're going to have to change some of the HTML here to match what Bootstrap wants. If you look at the Bootstrap website, you can see this is essentially all the HTML, etc., that is necessary. All we need to focus on here is the opening tag, which is the panel group that identifies the whole accordion. And then each record that we want in this panel, each item in this accordion will have these classes for them. And then inside, this is just the styling and the content for each of those accordion items. So this actually looks kind of difficult, but it's very easy in XMod Pro. The one thing I'll point out to you is this like href collapse 1, which is pointing to this div with an ID of collapse 1. Here it's an ID of collapse 2. These are unique IDs in that this example is designed for hard-coded or static websites. We're building something that's dynamic that you could add and change all the time. So I'll show you also how we can make those changes easily in XMod Pro. Let's go back to our tab here. First thing we have to do is include, and again, if Bootstrap is included in your website, you won't have to do this, but we're going to include the Bootstrap CSS file and the Bootstrap JavaScript file in our template right here. And you can read the help file for what script block is. It just allows you to inject CSS tags and script tags, etc., in various places in the site. And that's what we've done here. Next, we're going to modify the HTML that we're rendering out, and we do that because that's what Bootstrap requires. So I'm just going to copy that rather than type it all out. I'm going to remove our header template here through the footer template and replace it with a new header item and footer template. And you can see this is the div class that we had pointed out earlier, and for each item, this is the div class that we pointed out. Again, the ID here that I just talked about, the collapse 1, collapse 2, this is where the ID column that we added comes in very handy, because now this is a unique identifier. We can simply mash that together with the word collapse. So the first record, this will actually render out as collapse and the number 1. The next record will be collapse and the number 2, etc., for every record that we have. So that's guaranteed to be unique on the page. That should take care of everything. The only thing, I can just get rid of this detail template because we're not showing it anymore, because we have our question here and our answer here. We're displaying it on the same page. Let's save this and reload the page, and hopefully it will all work. There we go. We just click on the link here, and we can see the meaning of life is 42. Oldest business in the US is the Zildjian Company, and the most common invention is the washing machine. You can see how easy and quick you can come up with something pretty spectacular in just a short period of time, because XMod Pro gives you the flexibility. It gives you all the internal plumbing so that you can focus on what's most important, and that's the user experience of your website. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration of XMod Pro. There is a lot more to dig into, believe me. And I hope you go ahead and take advantage of all of that, and that XMod Pro becomes a very valuable tool in your toolbox. Thanks a lot.